what makes young people crave to rave.
I'm curious what makes you so curious.
In the beginning was the beat.
Welcome to the Rave Curious podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Glazer. What are we curious about? We're curious about electronic music and the culture that surrounds it. How do we satisfy that curiosity? We do it by talking to some of the people who have dedicated their lives to the electronic music scene, the DJs, producers, promoters, and more. My guests on today's podcast are Beyer and Ida Engberg, the DJ duo / techno power couple from Sweden, who I met up with in between weeks 1 and 2 of the Coachella Festival, where they played this year for the first time. I actually am just back from 2 weekends at Coachella as well. You can probably hear that in my voice. It sounds like I've been breathing dust nonstop for about a week and a half, because I have been breathing dust nonstop for about a week and a half. And anyone who has been to Coachella will be familiar with the trauma my throat is currently going through. So my apologies for that. Thoughts, observations about Coachella? I don't know, man. I mean, I've been going to Coachella since 2004. I've made almost every year. I think I've missed 1 or 2 in there. But you know, I've seen a lot happen, a lot change. Obviously, EDM has become a major force, not just at Coachella, but around the world. But Coachella is kind of the only time I ever really get to witness that. So I watched Jack U do their whole screechy, dubsteppy EDM thing, complete with somebody dressed up as a bottle of Febreze on stage. And, you know, I don't feel really the need to comment on what was good and what was bad, but suffice it to say, it's all there, man. It's all there if you want it. And I do talk to Adam and Ida a little bit about the difference, you know, the underground techno stage that they play. It's called the Yuma Tent. It's just this, you know, dark club environment. But when they were in Hollywood, they stayed with Eric Prydz. I think we actually talked about this on the podcast. And it's funny how a lot of these big EDM guys do come from these underground dance music roots. And frankly, I'd love to talk to some of them. I would love to sit down with Eric Prydz and figure out, you know, how do you go from making a record for Drum Code to, you know, headlining these main stage EDM sort of events. I'm down to talk to anybody. In 2010, I interviewed David Guetta, and I was surprised to learn, I was shocked to learn that his first record he made with Robert Owens. So there's, I don't really know what I'm trying to say about this. I'm trying to come to some sort of profound conclusion, and maybe there isn't one, but I don't even know why I'm still talking. My poor vocal cords. And you know, if you feel sorry for me, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on iTunes, leave a comment, and yeah, otherwise just enjoy my conversation with Beyer and Ida Engberg. Thanks for listening. Tell people there you have a cameraman here with you, following you around. Are you guys going to be the Swedish Kardashians? Like, whoa,
exactly, it's a reality show. No. It's we haven't really done anything like that before. I was working on a documentary for a while, but it kind of didn't go very well in the end. I didn't like the material, so I left it for a couple of years, and then we kind of accidentally met Bobo through Jonna, our nanny, or a friend of us who's acting nanny on this trip. She's helping us when we're away, like doing the gig and whatever, with our baby. She knew Bobo and told him about her coming with us here, and he's been here for years and years filming for H&M and other things at Coachella. So he was like, and he never heard about us, and he's doing a lot of documentaries in Sweden. I don't know how many he's done, but yeah, like big stuff, you know. So we were like, So he got in touch and like, yeah, would you guys want to do maybe a road movie, going to Coachella? I want to find out more about you. I never heard about you before, and this is so cool. Your parents, and I'm kind of blown away about your whole situation. Can we do something? And we met up, and we saw what he's done before, and it's really credible, cool stuff. And so I felt like this is gonna be something, and it's gonna be real. It's not about like us doing some sort of EDM. Up to the big stage and then hands in the air and then the documentary is over. It's more like a real thing with, our kids is in there, and it's the sort of behind the scenes and us traveling, being on the plane, whatever, like discussions about stuff. So, so it's not as serious. It's like a 1 hour road trip.
Okay.
For the Swedish
road movie for
Swedish
Swedish national TV.
For the national channel 1, I think it's.
Yeah.
So is Swedish television, is it more like BBC? Is it like...
Yeah. They actually quite like BBC. They're pretty good with... There's no advertising or commercials. It's very... you get a really good documentaries and still in-depth good journalism, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
there's a credibility to it. So it was cool.
Yeah, I found out I still apparently owe the German government a few €100 for their TV tax that I haven't paid. So, do they do that? Is it like, is it like a tax, or how do they? Or is it?
Yeah,
just
you pay if you have a TV, you gotta pay a certain amount. I don't know if it's a couple of times a year or it's like maybe $70 or something. I usually get a little invoice or a little bill a couple of times a year.
And you just pay it.
I just pay it. Yeah.
It's funny because they just started doing it in Germany. Like, I guess it used to be per TV, and then they simplified it, or like it's just per housing unit.
Yeah, because it's now with all the screens and computers.
Exactly.
It's impossible. In Sweden, if you don't have a TV but only have a computer, they can't charge you still. So a lot of people are watching on the computer. So it's a bit of a gray zone now, they don't really know how to deal with it, I think, still.
Yeah, the Germans, like, they got rid of that, and it's just like everybody has to pay. But then, of course, everybody, like, all the expats I knew were like, I'm not paying that crap. And all the Germans were like, just pay it. Just don't mess with them, just pay it.
I think it's fair, because if you want to have, like, I mean, a lot of people are working a lot for maybe not like great pace, and to keep the quality of the TV in Sweden. I think if everyone participates, but we have that running throughout our whole society with taxes and everything, to keep a certain standard and the welfare and whatnot. You need to pay.
It's very high, right? What is the?
Oh yeah, we're second highest in the world, I think.
After
I don't know.
Norway, or just another Scandinavian.
Norway's not as bad, I think, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's high. I mean, it depends a bit, corporate tax and personal tax, but it's high.
And also, the more you earn, the more you have.
Obviously, yeah.
Sure.
But it's not like that in all countries, is it? It's
normally
the same for everyone, like 30%.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. I mean, America also, it's not. It's graded or whatever. Yeah, same. Like if the more you earn, the higher the percentage. But the percentages are really low, and there's so many loopholes, and there's the Panama Papers.
Yeah.
That I think it's funny we can talk about this because it's like what's that have to do with techno? It doesn't really, but it's with the election going on in America right now, and they keep pointing towards Bernie Sanders keeps pointing towards Scandinavia as like look what these people have, and this is what I want to do, and so.
I think a little bit of that in the US wouldn't be so bad, because you have such a huge difference between rich and poor. Like to give the people here, like the minimum wage thing is a good thing. Some people are working for nothing here, and also like I mean for us coming from Sweden, like healthcare and all those things, we take it for granted, and
especially for kids.
It's like $10 for a surgery. You just pay like $10 for anything you do. You just pay like or in my case, I have a cheap insurance thing on my company, which gives me like free healthcare at the best hospital in Stockholm. And it doesn't cost anything, and. And it's the same for everyone.
How does that? What happens but you're on tour right now, and you're on tour, with the baby. Like, are you guys covered?
Yeah, it actually
Like,
happened. We went to Miami and one of our daughters gets sick. The middle one, she was like 1.5, and she was getting a really, really high fever in Miami, and we got a bit like quite worried because she was so like, coughing a lot and like 40 degrees felt. So we actually went to the hospital in Miami emergency to check on her, and they took it quite seriously. So they took her like X-rayed her and everything.
They do as much as they can because they make money out of it.
Yeah, with tens of thousands of dollars.
We were
Yeah.
like,
You have to
too
press
much.
the stop button,
This
otherwise
wouldn't
they
happen
do
in
like...
Stockholm. They would be like, oh no, she's fine, like go home and rest. But they like took it really seriously, and then it didn't cost us anything. They just sent the bill to our insurance company, and we faxed like the insurance number.
We have like
But
a
it was,
Scandinavian emergency
like
number. So if you're Scandi, you just call the number to
$2,000.
someone in... Yeah.
It was like they actually charged Sweden like $2,000 for her little flu. So I was like, imagine if you don't have this insurance and you actually have to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot of money.
So have you gotten sick anywhere weird? Because you travel, well, both you travel everywhere, obviously.
Yeah.
Not more than like food poisons and things like that has been going over. I've never been into the hospital.
Never been like...
In 20 years' time, I've never been to like a... I'm not really getting sick much.
You went to the Mexican medicine woman who was like bouncing your feet together.
Oh yeah, but we did that once. But
What's this?
in Mexico, there was a medicine woman, like in a house in Mexico.
yeah, during BPM at some point, because I've been playing a lot. It was right after New Year's. I was in LA, did some shows, and just around like coming out of the whole crazy end of the year, you know, been going full stop. Came to Mexico, had a deep tissue massage, which usually sometimes releases, you know, toxins and stuff in your body. I got really sick. And the guys in the house we rented recommended me a medicine woman next door. So I went there and she put stones and magnets and stuff on my body and put my feet together and told me about whatever was wrong and said it was going to get better. And it did get better, but I think
That would have got better.
probably got better
Anyway.
in any case, but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah. She was doing like the plus and minus magnets and
Okay, so how do you guys, I mean, because obviously like right now traveling, you said you're like, when did you get in from the jet, you know, you mentioned jet lag when I walked in.
We played in Belgium on Friday. It was on Awakenings in Antwerp, and then we had to go early in the morning, me pretty much without any sleep, and we went, so that was on Saturday, so we got in Saturday night here. We landed at
Oh wow, okay, so you
LAX,
just got
but
in,
then
yeah.
immigrations took our friend who's acting nanny on this trip, because we went on through before her, and then she came alone, and someone decided to mess with her, so that slowed us down for about 2 hours. But yeah, so we got here. We got here around midnight on Saturday, I guess, or 11. Yeah.
So you're gonna hang out here in the desert for a few days.
No, we actually
Oh, you said
this
not to.
morning we decided to go to LA tomorrow morning.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're actually going to LA now. So we could have done this
We could have done
in
this
LA,
in
but
LA.
I thought we might as well do it now since we decided.
So where are you staying in LA?
At a
This
friend-
isn't gonna come out until after, so people
at
aren't
a
gonna
friend's
come by.
place. We have friends there, you know. Eric Prydz is living in LA.
Yeah, okay.
So we actually got invited to stay with his family.
He's somebody I would like to have on the podcast. I think he's a really interesting dude because he's kind of known as this, you know, kind of mainstream EDM guy, but he has this whole other background in
He's
history.
never really played the EDM game, I think. He always wanted to distance himself a little bit from it because he's more from sort of a John Digweed kind of background, you know, the progressive mid-2000s. Prida was massive, and then he had those big hits. But then he moved over here, and they kind of, you know, to play on the big stages that he deserves to play. He's playing with all the EDM people, but he's actually not playing EDM. So he has this slightly cooler, you know, aura around him. It's more musical. It's a bit like a Jean-Michel Jarre or something, but 2016, you know, it's very musical and long arrangements but super big drops, but it's all a bit more drawn out. It hasn't got that EDM sort of. I quite like what he does, and I think I mean, he's a genius in what he do. So.
Yeah, and also he has this Cyrus D.
Yeah, and then he does techno as well.
Yeah.
Cyrus D. Yeah.
Didn't he do a drum
He's
kit?
done he's done remixes for me, and he did an early Trousseau release as well for Trousseau. Yeah.
So this was just like in like back in the 90s, yeah?
No, this is 2003, I think.
Okay.
I did a record with him on my label Truso, but that was before Call on Me and everything. That was one of his first releases, actually. So.
Okay, was that drum?
And that was Sebastian Ingrosso on vocals from Swedish House Mafia. He's actually talking over that track. It's a really good track.
It's a really good track.
It's a bit of a not rip-off, but it's quite inspired from Groove La Chord by Ara Bricka that came on a Transmat, was it?
Yeah.
Fragile, maybe. It sounds quite like that, but with a spoken like vocal over it.
Yeah, I love what I love about Groove La Chord is like that. You guys both probably wouldn't know this, but like maybe when you were in Detroit, did you get to experience any of like the Booty House?
I know all that.
Stuff?
Yeah, I met Godfather. And,
okay, so
you know, I used to run a record store. I used to work in a record store during the 90s. We were selling that kind of stuff as well, so I got quite exposed to it. And Jesper Dahlbeck, who's doing the Persuader stuff, and he was always really into Dance Mania and all those labels. So I'm quite familiar with it. I quite like it. I never really played it myself, but
yeah, it's because like in Detroit, not really anymore, but for a long time that was on the radio every Friday, Saturday. And Groove La Chord was like the one new record that made it into rotation. Because like all those records were, like early 90s. And then there was nothing. It was just the same 30 or 40 records over and over and over again for years. And then when Groove La Chord came out, all these DJs, it was like the first new record because they could pitch it up, or even like maybe they had to play it on 45.
Yeah.
But it was the only record that like...
I think it's pretty fast. It's probably like 132, 133. So they pitch it up to like 140.
Everything's really fast. Everything was really fast back then.
Yeah.
I have a recording of you the first time we met when you played at Motor. I guess it would have been 2000.
That's 2000.
And it's ridiculously fast.
Yeah, it's like... A lot of the tracks we made were like 140, 142... Even 145,
Yeah. I don't know how...
It was just sign of the times, wasn't it? It was kind of the end of the peak of the sort of loop techno era around 2000. And it just went faster and faster and faster and it's always like that when a new genre emerges and then people want to take it to the extreme and sort of top each other. So it but then came to an end because everything was done and then it crashed.
So do you ever pull out those records? Do you listen to any of that stuff?
I have my moments, like once a year maybe when I dig through vinyl, or I mean I love doing it, finding those records and just put them on, and it gets me really excited for a couple of hours, but then I just go back to on with what I do right now. But yeah, there's memories.
Yeah. Chris Lieben had a great, he obviously got really caught in that, like, we were talking, with the Shrans thing where it was harder, faster, harder. And, he admits that he's like, after a minute, he was like, whoa, guys, like, don't.
Well, I mean, the problem for me was not actually the music so much. It was more because I came from, like, in the mid 90s, and it was more like stripped, raw, kind of like the bargainy techno today, like the Damon Wild, all this US stuff, minimal techno around 135, and then it became more and more tribal and faster and or shrans, like you say, and it was really good, and it was party, and there was a vibe, there was a groove to it. But then we started to get booked together with like the hard techno people. And sometimes at those parties, there would be like in Europe, especially like Eastern Europe, and I would start seeing like skinheads at the parties. I would start feeling like an aggressive vibe almost. And that was the point where I was like, whoa, this is not who I am or what I want to take part in. I don't want to feel like tension in the party and almost like people standing in the front, like harder, You want to see like women, like mix. The more mixed, the better for me in a party. I want to see people from all different ethnicities and genders and whatnot. So that's when I really like made a big U-turn and kind of slowed everything down for a few years and kind of find a new way.
That seems to be
suited me better than.
That seems to be the thread of a lot of guys. Yeah. Just kind of the music in general. Yeah. Chris also pointed out that like the production quality has gotten better. Like the things people could do has got better. So it's like he's like half the reason we had to make it so fast is because like the production wasn't very good.
Yeah, and the way we were playing back then, I mean, it was vinyl, and it was a bit more of a sort of turntablist mentality where, you know, I was using 3 decks, and, you know, you played like 2 minutes of each track because it was basically just a loop, and then you mixed it together with 2 or 3 other records, and people were watching. It was kind of that, you know, kind of slight hip-hop mentality to the way we were playing the records because it was vinyl, you know. And
yeah, I remember seeing you that first time in Detroit, and in my head this is what you did, and I'm not sure if this is real or not, but what it looked like was you had at least 2 records going, and you kind of like tapped the label on one of them, like they kind of like brought it back half a beat, so it sounded like it like doubled for a second. It was like boom, 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 and he kind of flipped it back, and I remember like looking at my friend like, did he just do that? is that?
yeah, I used to do things like that. I used to have
Fun little tricks.
some of I used to bring like 2 or 3 copies of some records and play them back, and, you know, do a little bit of tricks. And I was practicing a lot as a kid. I mean, I started to DJ 87, so at that time, I'm gonna let Ida speak.
No,
as
no,
well.
No. I'm gonna ask.
Sorry, I'm
you're
just
taking
like
all
completely
this, yeah.
taking over here. But
Don't
yeah,
even think about
no. So that's the time when I started, around 87, 88, and me and my friends, we were sitting watching not old, like VHS tapes of DMC, you know, the DJ championships and things like that. That's what got me started, pretty much. So I was practicing a lot of those skills and moves, and, like, you know, taping my records, and so I can put the needle on a certain place, and, you know, doing backspins and scratching, and you know, so that those skills was, you know, I was still using them a little bit throughout the 90s when I was playing.
So Ida, I was waiting for you because I did want to ask Ida's opinion on all of it. Like, where, I mean, I know you weren't DJing in 87, I don't think.
No, but I'm born 82, so I wasn't like involved in anything at all. I was, you know, I mean, in the 90s, I was unfortunately, I didn't experience the rave scene back then. So.
When did you first pick it up? When did you start going out? And when did you start DJing?
I mean, I started to DJ for fun at the youth center at school when I was 13, 14. But more hip hop records and just just for fun at the youth center. And then I had my first gig in a bar in Stockholm when I was 18. So yeah, I mean, I back then I didn't at all. Never in my life I would have thought that I would become a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
I was not having that in mind at all. I didn't have any friends who was DJs or I mean, I was listening to music a lot, but I wasn't seeing myself as a DJ. So I just started to play in a bar and kind of thought it was more and more fun and started to learn, took it a little bit more seriously, and then. I actually took a DJ school course. A friend of mine had a DJ school, so I just practiced playing vinyl for a month every day. I think it was from 9 to 5 every day. I was practicing there, and then I just started playing in clubs in Stockholm and a little bit.
So, but something must have drew you to it to begin with. I mean, from the beginning, I guess I thought it was when I was 13, 14. I thought it was interesting. My sister, I have an older sister who was traveling a lot, and she took me to Ibiza when I was 16. And we went to space, and she took me to all those parties, and we went to, I remember when I was 18, we went to a 24-hour party up in someone's villa. His name is Tandy, actually. Who? Sorry?
Tandy. He still does a lot of big parties, and he's doing.
He's known
Burning
for some
Man,
crazy afters and stuff in Ibiza, and he used to have a boat there, and everyone knows him.
A Burning Man art car who has a duck throwing fire. Who won the best art car of Burning
I've seen that.
Man.
Okay, yeah, I've seen photos of that.
I went to his party when I was really young, and so I guess I was exposed to the scene when I was at that age, and then. I was DJing at the same time, so I just started to listen to more and more music and electronic music, and I moved to Ibiza when I was 22, 23, so I was there for a whole season, and Yeah, I mean, I was just DJing more and more, and I always had a plan to do something else, but then I took it more and more seriously, and I didn't really do anything else. So.
What was it? What was the plan?
What
was plan B?
I was working as an art director assistant at an advertising company. So I wanted to keep on studying art. I wanted to become maybe an art director or something within the advertising world. But then I ended up as a DJ instead, which is amazing. I really followed my heart basically through it all, and
So, and then when did you guys get together? I mean, I know you've known each other for a long time.
When we actually started to go out, you mean, or when we first met?
What order did it happen in? You've told me this story, but it was like a Berghain, just kind of like.
No, I mean, because Ida was playing around Stockholm, mostly, and I was also playing in Stockholm occasionally, and I had friends doing parties and stuff, and I would hear about her through them, and then I saw her, and I was like, she's good, and we started talking, maybe saw each other a bit more out in Stockholm, whatever, played, and then at some point I invited her to play for us, because we did 2 rooms at some drum club party in Germany, I think, and like, do you want to, because she was playing more what was called minimal at that time, and we wanted to do more of that in the second room, so I was like, do you want to play in the second room on this drum club party, I thought it was really cool as well that, that she was a girl, and because it was quite male driven at the time. It's gotten a bit better, but especially the drum club family, was all guys, so I was, wanted to inject it with, something different, and so she came, and then, we gradually learned to know each other privately as well, and then I think around 2010 or so we got together. We realized that there was more there than just friendship, and that's only 6 years ago.
I was gonna say that's not long at all.
Exactly, and we had 3 children since then. So
you got right to business.
We definitely we kind of went all in straight away. We got pregnant first year, and then it's been quite a big change for both of us in many ways.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Sure, but I think that's how it happens a lot of times.
If you decide, and we've been trying to figure it out along the way, and so far so good, I think.
Yeah, that's my girlfriend right now. Within the first month we met, I was like, oh, you're the person I'm gonna have kids with. Like we're it's why I moved back to LA. And
I think when you know. When you meet someone and you really know, then it's not really any question marks around it. That's how I felt at least. I didn't never doubted anything.
But I think so many people do, particularly I guess like in this scene.
Oh yeah.
Because it's there's never that like, okay, time to grow up, get a job, get a house. There's
never a good time for that. Doing what we do. Although, I mean, I was 35 at the time, and I've been doing it for 15 years, and it kind of starts getting a bit the same over and over, and you party, and you party, and you party, and, that whole, and you play, and it's great, but, I thought, I didn't know, but I thought I was ready for the responsibility, and I thought it would be a good thing, and it has been in a lot of ways, but maybe it didn't turn out exactly what I thought it would be, because I don't think you know what a kid actually means to you. If you have kids close in your family or young children, but I didn't, so it was a big change, but everything's just been going better. I think if you believe and if you make it work and you're willing to sacrifice and it's all about being disciplined as well. If you're willing to do all those things, I mean, you can pretty much do anything. You just have to change the way,
What's been the biggest change?
Well, I guess the whole responsibility, a child is not just something that comes and then goes. You just have to be 100% kind of not there all the time, but you can't.
Always front of mind.
Everything you do, all the planning, everything, you always have to put the kid first, you know, or the child, rather than, you know, before we could do whatever we want, whenever we wanted. And
I think also like the partying actually. I mean, DJing has always gone hand in hand with, you know, staying at the party, going to afters, you know, play as long as you want, come home, slept like half an hour, you know, sleep a little bit on the plane, and then you can come home and just rest the whole week and take it easy. When you have a family, you just can't do that anymore, because you come home and then you have to wake up at 6 in the morning
Monday
the whole
morning,
week, and you know, it's really, when you come home, it's every day the same.
Kids need
schedule,
routines,
so,
and they're completely backwards from a DJ
so
point
you have
of
to
view.
become
So
more professional, and so you can't party your head off every time you go.
So, but it seems like it's actually helped, because I mean, from what I've seen professionally, you guys,
that's the thing.
Things
because once you're getting into those routines and you get disciplined, and the good thing for us, and that was probably one of the reasons that it clicked so well as well, is that we understand each other. You know, like previous relationships, being together with someone who's not fully understanding the music, the scene, maybe what you do, your passion. It's hard to explain why you want to be, you know, in a nightclub 2 or 3 nights a week doing what you do to someone who's not into it. But for us, at least, we don't even have to say anything, because we know, because we're both doing the same thing. So there's a mutual understanding there and love and passion for the music. So that whole thing was never a problem. But then Ida's been great. I mean, she's the one really who's been carrying the biggest part of it, because I got to continue pretty much, you know, one of us had to keep working. I mean, and Ida's been stepping down for a couple of years and done, you know,
one of us had.
She has been stepping up rather. I mean, she's been taking, you know, being home more with the kids, and I've been, you know, out DJing. But she has still been DJing and actually brought the kids on the road sometimes, or at least one kid on the road quite a lot.
Every time.
Every time, yeah.
I haven't been traveling
with
a lot
nannies and the whole like
yeah.
organization around that, finding people who can travel with, and you know, we've been going through a bunch of nannies, and my parents has been a big help. They have right now, for example, they have the 2 older ones, and they're used to being there, so they're super happy being there. They do a lot of things with them, and you know. But it's changed a lot, because now it's you have to think about them 100% first, and then us. At the same time as you need to be able to be professional in your work and have a professional environment when you work and your private one, and sometimes that can be hard to separate as well in this job, because you bring it with your home, you work from home, so it's something new.
But I think actually I have become more organized and more serious about my DJing now than before. Because before I was more like really in the zone all the time, like DJing, partying, and you know, I didn't really see it as I see it now. Now I take much more time, like to you know, to maybe have someone booked to come and take care of Edith, and then I really like take time to organize my music and prepare my sets, and because I have to, I can't really, you know, I have to book a time when like these hours I'm gonna do my set, and so I think I'm more organized. It's like a life puzzle. You really have to take like this and these hours I'm gonna work, and those hours you have to work, and you know, you can't just work whenever you want.
Sure.
So I think it can be good also.
So, and then what about the travel? I mean, you said you've maintained the travel lane.
Yeah, so. I mean, I've been going pretty much full steam. Maybe slow down a little bit at some points, and but yeah, I mean, I've been, you know, it's been full force pretty much all the way. Then taking the necessary time off to be able to see the family and do those kind of things as well. And then, I mean, a lot of the time when you're playing around Europe, you're away Friday, Saturday, you get back Sunday, you leave Friday afternoon. So and then you're home for the rest of the week. So, you know, we actually, in periods, I guess we actually see our kids more than a lot of other parents. It depends. But then I'll be away, you know, a lot in the summers. And
But then we can bring them and decide to
yeah,
stay
I mean, they've seen
for
the
a
world.
month in Ibiza or, you know, a month in Mexico this winter or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they travel with us a lot also. So I think it's a nice way of growing up, I hope.
So, do either of you travel as kids?
Not this much. No. I mean, more
Like traditional.
traditionally. But
Yeah. What do your parents do? You said you're both you have family. Your families are in Stockholm.
yeah, my mother was a nurse and my father had. He was, what was it like? It was a building construction
He was
company.
running a building
and
construction
he was
company.
running a construction.
Contractor or whatever.
So really normal jobs, I would say.
Yeah, my father, who passed away when I was 13, he used to be in like computers, like IBM, and I don't know exactly what he did, but yeah, like office work, pretty much. And my mom was what's it called? Preschool teacher.
Okay.
Kind of.
So,
but
was your
then-
dad was he like a techie guy, like a
as tech as you could
guy,
be, like
or-
80 end of the 80s, you know, it was very early computer times, but yeah, he was working with computers, like those big boxes with little, I remember playing games on his computer, like the early track and field games and stuff. It was just like a little dot moving around there.
My father was a hippie also. I mean, up until he started to work, he was living in India and like hitchhiking to living in Goa and listening to a lot of like Pink Floyd. And I mean, he told me so many stories from I mean, music related stories from, but another time like 60s, 70s.
Right. But so there's a bit of an understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
like-
I mean, he was doing a lot of partying back then for sure. I mean, I understood that now. I mean, he also actually passed away 2 years ago. But yeah, I guess it's always been a big understanding from him. Sure.
Yeah, for me it was when my father passed when I was 13. Was already like DJing and stuff, and was kind of not in trouble, but I wasn't like a grade A student. I was, you know, I was out hanging around in the streets with my friends. But I was really into music. So my mother was really supportive. I don't think I would have been able to do what I did that early if she wasn't, because she kind of helped me getting my first turntables, and she supported it because she saw that it kept me occupied and I was focused on something, and it took me away from some of the bad stuff I was doing. And so yeah, it was a good thing.
So I mean, you started putting out records when you were.
We made the first record I released was made in '93. I think it came out early '94 on a New York label called Direct Drive. It was ran by Adam X and Jimmy Crash, who's people from back then will know about. They used to throw parties in New York, and yeah, they've been involved in a lot of stuff. And I think Adam X is still active. Yeah, we just sent out some demos, and we had a cassette tape, and we had a message on my answering machine one day when I came back from school, because I was still in school. I was 18,
Yeah.
or 17 when I produced it.
That's what I thought. I thought you were quite
I was
young,
18
yeah.
when it came out. Yeah. So yeah, we thought we made it, and that was it. We were over the moon. Back then, to release a record was big.
I'm imagining what it's like for like two Swedish high school kids to come home and there's Adam X on the answering machine.
Yeah, it was actually Jimmy Crash, but yeah,
Okay.
he's the guy.
Well, he has half the accent that Adam X does.
It was crazy. And we sent them that, and then we never heard anything, didn't get any vinyl, sent nothing for months. Then we found it in the record store in Stockholm. That's how, and we bought it. That's how we got our first record. And then eventually, after some miserable faxes or whatever we used at the time, at that time we were faxing each other. It was pretty crazy. It was fax or phone call, but fax was pretty common. We finally got that box with 10 copies of the record in or something. But then, the whole Stockholm scene started to grow, and we met a guy called Glenn Wilson, who was from the UK, but he had a record store in South Sweden. He moved up to Stockholm, started a record store with Bush and the record label. So that's how I learned more about the record label industry. And that label was called Planet Rhythm. And that started out as our first sort of base for our music for 2 years or so before I started Drum Code 96.
Okay. And then I didn't realize you kind of paused on Drum Code for a while.
I slowed it down a lot during... That's what we talked about a bit earlier, like, because Drum Code was very hard and sort of loopy techno. And for a while I was kind of over that. I went back and I was more inspired by the early 90s stuff, and like I said, minimal, and I wanted more fun in the music again. And you know, I went to Ibiza for, not for the first time, but I went there in the right sort of setting, staying in with Richie Houghton and Ricardo Villalobos and all these people in a villa for a couple of years in a row for a couple of weeks, and we were just like listening to all those records.
I think we spoke on the phone at one of those points when Plazleco was touring.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. I remember get a random call. It's like man, like 01, 02, something. Like get a random, like I don't know what this number is.
03 probably.
It's Derek is like, Bear wants to talk to you.
Yeah. And that, you know, I found that was a really good way of finding inspiration again, and it all felt new and exciting. It was fun, you know, we were in the perfect age. Ibiza was changing from, you know, the more traditional progressive or trance sounds that had been there to more minimal or like Ricardo-esque, Balearic minimal or whatever you want to call it. And that whole thing had you know, made a big impact on me. So that's when I did my +8 record for Rich in 2005, which was, it's kind of it's a fusion between old-fashioned Beyer and that sound, somewhere in between. And I did a bunch of records like that, and and then Drum Code felt completely unnecessary for a while. I did records for Nova Mu and Soma, and yeah, like I said, +8 and a bunch of other things. But then slowly, you know, that sound, like everything else, you know, you get used to it, it get watered out, you know, the whole beatport thing came. Things started to sound more and more generic again and similar. I think the golden era for that sound was around 2005 when the first Luciano records came, and you know, the Perlon stuff and all that organic, like really good stuff. But then it got watered out a little bit. And I also felt, you know, because I was playing a lot of big parties still and big rooms, and that sound never really translated well in really big rooms. So I was like, I need a bit more, you know, kick to it, a bit more techno. So I was like, maybe if I take this, the inspirations and the arrangements, but you know, I put more of a bit of a Drum Code infusion or into it again. So I started slowly to do that on Drum Code, and kind of came back with a new sound, and I had an idea, because I was gonna put it down forever, or I was gonna, you know, and start something new. I was going like, maybe if I can take the label, because I realized it still had a good name and it still had a following, and you know, there was still credibility to the brand there from the early years. So it's like, yeah, maybe I can actually, you know, just transform it into something new and exciting. And I did, and it's just been going really well since. And then that became my brand, you know.
So, and you started off with, like, I know, like, I had Dustin was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and actually I got to be on his podcast.
Oh, cool.
Which was fun. So we did Mine Sober. And then for his,
I've been listening to a couple of them.
Yeah, he's doing the drinking wine.
Yeah, he started drinking. I'm not drinking these days, but I had a couple of espressos to kind of
get hyper.
Yeah, so I gotta say, if you're gonna listen to one, listen to me on Dustin as opposed to Dustin on mine, because that one was like, it was like 2 days after New Year's in Berlin this year, so I was kind of like, oh, we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, he was on the label early on and around that time, and off it went.
So, and then Ida, you put out stuff on True Soul, right? Which was the sub-label?
Exactly, yeah, I had some releases on True Soul and even Drum Code as well.
But what kind of made Ida get international bookings was
My first release.
a record called Disco Volante, who
Which
actually
was released on Pick It All, which is... It was John and Jesper Dahlbeck's label, and it was a bit more like minimal-ish electro, but then John decided to go super commercial around
it was before
that
John
time.
went.
But it was before he... I mean, it was when he was playing still minimal, so...
But
Can I talk, or do you want to talk?
you can talk.
You want to
I
tell my
just don't
story
want-
as well? It's fine.
I
can just
wouldn't
be
mind.
quiet.
He loves
Sorry.
talking about you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Maybe I would like to hear it from you. So,
No, I'm not gonna say anything now.
so whatever. It came out 2007, I think, and then Sebastian Leger did a remix of it. So that remix got licensed. I don't know on how many different labels, and it got really big. And in Belgium and Holland, it was like number 1 in the commercial
The main
chart, in the main charts.
Okay.
So it was actually like next to Rihanna and Snoop Doggy Dogg, and then it was like Disco Volante, which was really weird because it wasn't having. I mean, it didn't have any vocals. It's like a melodic song, but it's. I mean, maybe a bit like influenced by like The Sky Was Pink or like Oxia, that kind of melodic.
Yes, kind of
Hold the
What it
Sound, you know, those
community,
big
Mhm.
records
Yeah.
at the time.
But it got like quite popular, or like really
It was
popular
massive.
especially in
It was
Holland.
on the radio
and
all the
Belgium,
time.
so
and
that's when I got signed to German booking agency.
Okay.
Plantage 13, and they also had like Stefan Baltzin and Oliver Huntemann, and so I had my first bookings in Germany outside of Sweden in 2007-ish, and then it was like Rings on the Water. I mean, I started to be more and more in, but I got quite big shows. I mean, quite fast. I played main stage at Tomorrowland, for example, but quite early slots. But and also,
But still.
I mean, Dance Valley main stage, and so it got. But I also, I mean, I didn't play commercial music, so I also got booked at the wrong. I always felt uncomfortable playing there because it was not really, you know, the guy before me played super commercial, you know, EDM, and then also the guy after, and I was playing more like tech house, techno, electros. I mean, I was trying to adapt a little bit, but I mean, I never played anything commercial. So I think after years, I found my own way to getting more and more bookings at parties where I really wanted to play, where I really enjoyed playing, and especially in Germany, it was I had so many bookings in great clubs and great parties, and so it took some years to find like the right.
It seems like that's everyone's goal ultimately, is to be able to
like home is where the heart is, you know. Where I am now, I feel completely happy. I don't want to be anywhere else, and that's the good feeling to when you reach that point, when you play at parties where you really want to feel free to express what you want to express, and where you have the right people.
And when did you guys decide to start, like, officially?
I don't even remember when the first back-to-back was.
I think that was spontaneous at some drum.
Well, that's what I assume it happened for fun.
And we just went back to back
then
at some afters and some where we had like a drum call night, and it was kind of open end, and we
I
just
think it
keep
was
playing.
It might have been at Space for the drum code party, because we played back-to-back the last hour at the drum code party at Space. Didn't we?
Which Space?
You had a drum code party at Space in Miami. For this was one of the first conference drum code parties. I don't know. I don't remember when the first one was.
I don't know either.
But
Oh, we just did it, and then we did it more and more. We did some tours, and then I
we
think
had a South America tour back-to-back, but this was
and North America as well. And
North America as well. Yeah.
when we went to Puerto Rico and all that.
And Mexico City. And,
this is years ago. And then so we've
But
just
we
been doing it a bit more and more, and then
the Sunday school was back-to-back. We did a Sunday school in Miami. I think we just get booked back-to-back. Somebody was like, oh, maybe we can book you back-to-back, or because we did it once and then...
I guess we asked about it as well.
No, I don't. I think it was more like a demand. People were asking us to play back-to-back afterward, because first it was just for fun, and then we started to get bookings. I mean...
Yeah, and then we started taking it more seriously, and I guess last year and the year before we smashed a few shows, like it went really well.
The Enter show,
and then we got the cover
Miami
on
was really
Yeah, for example,
key show
we had a couple
went
of
really well.
sets online that's been going really well. So then we got the cover on Mixmag last year.
I saw that. Where was I? I was in an airport somewhere and I saw that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I gotta buy. I can't believe I'm buying a mix mag, but
Yeah, they were like doing the Bonnie and Clyde of techno angle.
Yeah.
But it was a really nice.
I quite like Mixmag now.
It's good to have a memory like that.
They're going for the good stuff.
and yeah, there was a cover CD that went with it. That was So, do you feel that one of you pulls the other in more of a musical direction? I think, as I said, general consensus. It seems, Adam, that she's pulling you a little more towards her sound with these sets than the other way around.
It depends where we
That's
play.
on the message.
That's how it started, and that's what I wanted. Because I always liked to play that stuff, and I did. When I did the whole, like I said, mid 2000s, like the more minimal thing, I was playing a lot of that music, and then maybe I kind of left it a little bit. I was always, people always wanted me to play techno on the big things, and then I did club bookings where I could play a bit more what I wanted and a bit more free. But since I got bigger, the expectations of me of doing something like the techno thing got bigger, and I couldn't maybe experiment too much with my crowd always. For me, it was a way to keep playing the music I really love as well, but in a different setting and almost like under a different. It's my artist name, but it's us together, so people know that it will be a bit more about the songs and a bit more kind of musical than maybe like the technical techno sets I do on my own. So it was a perfect way for me to sort of divide the two and still have that part together with Ida, where I could play that music because I buy all of it, or I listen to it, I love it. It's actually the music I prefer to go out and listen to when I go to a party or. But then, as we got bigger, we ended up playing big stages and drum club parties, and we even finished like Awakenings and things like that. And then we had to kind of lean towards more what I've been doing, like the drum code sound or whatever. So it depends now where we're playing.
I think it's always like when you have a gig and we're gonna prepare for it. It's like, okay, you picture the stage or the club in front of you, and then you do something to fit in this atmosphere. So I don't think we think too much. It's more like, okay, so what are we going to do with this one? Okay, who's playing before, who's playing after? Okay, that's cool, and then we just try to do something that we think is cool for this specific party.
So where did yesterday's fall in? Like last night at Coachella.
What do you mean?
Like how did that fit with your expectations? It was both your first time.
No,
now,
actually,
right?
I mean, I was picturing more like the sun, the sunset, and this. I was thinking Coachella. I didn't expect it to be like a closed. It was completely black. It felt like being in a super intimate, cool club. So I was picturing more like this sunset, mountains. So it was a good surprise actually. It was really nice sound and great, atmosphere and everything. And the only problem we had was that there was a big delay in the monitors, actually. So it was a little bit difficult to mix in the beginning. We couldn't.
Did you notice that something was going on?
Sonically, no, but I was standing there. I could tell you guys were.
We had to mix on the monitors. So
basically, they had some digital processing on the signal going from the mixer to the monitor, which made a delay of about 60 milliseconds, which is pretty much a whole kick drum. So what we were hearing in our headphones was not coming out.
Matching.
So when we heard,
I assumed it was the mixer that you guys.
No,
you guys had just started.
That in combination.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
Sure.
We
can talk about it.
The
but the combination with us being on the new mixer and then having that problem kind of slowed us down and put us off a little bit.
Bit more tensed.
We had to focus and just make sure we got through the set and without, because there was it wasn't very comfortable to tell the truth. But considering the circumstances, I think it went pretty well.
Also, when you just have 1 hour and a half, you
don't
really have so much time to really get into it. And when you start to get into it, it's already like the end.
It's also freezing in that DJ booth. And that's like the only point where I had to go outside for a while. I was just like, I'm
Yeah,
so cool. Because that's the beauty of it. It's this pitch black, air conditioned nightclub in the middle of the desert. So when you go in there at 4 p.m, it's the greatest place on earth because you just step out of the blinding sun and the heat and the sweat and you get in there. The problem is at night they don't turn the AC off, and you're shivering in there. It's like the only club where you're shivering.
But I think, I mean, music-wise, we were picturing something more, a little bit more light. But I think we have the same gig next week.
Yeah.
So I think this time we were saying like we might, now we have a new picture in mind. So maybe we're gonna go a little bit darker, a little bit more clubby or.
And Adam kind of surprised you with the new mixer, it seemed.
No, he didn't surprise me. But it was the first time ever I played on it. I mean, we had it at
Yeah,
home,
well, you said right before you guys went on, you were like, "Are you sure we have to do that?"
Yeah, no. I mean, it was just like I might feeling. I don't know how. It's like 15 minutes before. I was like, "Are you sure we're gonna really play in the new mixer?" The first time was Coachella. Maybe we should like pick a club gig or like something where I have more time to get into it, like 1 hour and a half at Coachella. But then again, I mean, it wasn't the first time I tried it. We had it at home, and it's not like it's.
It can't be that. I think I said that last night. I'm like, a fader's a fader.
No, exactly. I mean, it's
but the thing is with that mixer
it's not an EQ. You don't have the.
It's actually made for playing back to backs because you got 2 headphone slots, and you got A and B, so one can listen to headphone slot A and the other one B at the same time.
That's a great.
Normally on a mixer, you can only listen at one channel at the same time. So it's actually made for back to backs as well. They've been thinking about that. So that's what makes it so great when we play together. Because that's always, otherwise we always steal, the cue like from each other. And give it to me, like finish your mix, because it's only 2 minutes left.
And you're looping all the time. I mean, we're both
and I have loops running, so I need to like keep them in.
You're using guitar pedals up there.
Yes, I use a delay and a reverb guitar pedal. Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah, they sound good. Sound better than most built-in DJ effects, and they're hands-on. You can,
But I was actually really excited playing the new mixer. I mean, even if it was a bit delay, I mean, as soon as the other song was on, I mean, you could use the monitors really well, so we didn't really need the headphones anyway, after a while.
After a while we get into it. It was just a little bit shaky.
It was really, and then I just felt like, wow, it's really fun playing a new mixer, and it's like, something new happening.
Did you say there's no EQ, or what did you just say?
It's not bass.
Oh, there's a there's a high pass and low pass filter.
Okay.
And then you have
filters instead. So
and then you have like a mid frequency boost, which you can notch whatever frequency you wanna boost. So which is more like a PA mixer or a studio mixer where you can, let's say, and that pretty much goes from like 78 down in the bass up to really high in the frequency. You can notch and push frequencies with the mid, but the bass and the highs are only high pass and low pass rather than EQs. But then
let's pretend I know nothing about EQs versus high pass, low pass.
Well, basically, those are, you can only.
That's my own podcast.
You can't add bass or add treble with those. You can only subtract, like take away. So basically, it's like. That's pretty much it. It's like a filter. If you ever try the filters on Allen Heat, for example, it's like that. It starts all the way from but it doesn't have a resonance. There is a separate filter on this mixer as well, which you can assign, which have resonance, where you can get the most sweeping thing. But this is only like taking bass off or put it back on. So it's more like a parametric EQ, I guess. And then you have EQ on the master. You have EQ on the booth. So there's about 6 different places you can EQ.
So it's
on
a lot to do.
It's very hi-fi. I mean, the sound of it is just like, it's probably twice as good as an Allen Heat. It's just a different world. And the sound tech was saying as well, it's like that mixer is just sounding completely different to all the other ones we've had here today. John was playing on the DB4 before, which is a good mixer, the Allen Heat. Massey on the Pioneer, whatever, and this one was just a whole different, like the bass, everything. That's what he
It's
said. I
nothing
mean, I
plastic
didn't.
about it at all. It's
It's very
all
very
hardwired
warm, and
and
yeah,
just-
it's quite expensive components inside. And I mean, I think this is like the 5th or 6th prototype Rich has done of it, and now it's almost there. They're changing something with the filters and whatnot, but it's pretty much there. So it's interesting. It's a different way of thinking. It's back to the kind of the old school, really high quality mixers that we saw in the 90s, but with a new touch and a new, new flavor.
Yeah, there seems to be there's definitely a movement towards that. I don't suppose you guys got to go into Despacio at all. At Coachella, you're like,
No.
it's totally blank look. I know what it is. Okay, so you're aware of the sound system that it was James Murphy from LCD Sound System and Too Many DJs built
Okay.
this ultra high end sound system. It's like it's like seven 11-foot stacks. I forget what the horn, what the speakers are, but they're all powered by what's the super high end analog amplifiers, like the British ones.
I wouldn't know.
Okay, but yeah, there's like it's meant to replicate like Richard Long, like the Richard Long sound system from
Right.
Paradise Garage or something. It's like
Yeah.
like the ultimate in hi-fi, and actually they have a tent set up with it, just a couple hundred meters from the tent that
Okay.
you guys played in.
That's what we were hearing in the breaks, probably when
No,
there was something leaking in the breaks.
That's the main stage
Okay.
from 2
You
kilometers
sure? 'Cause
away.
It sounded like dubstep kind of.
Yeah,
or
that would have been
something
coming,
like that.
or that could have been from the
From
Sahara,
one of
the
the- yeah,
big
one of
like
the
the kind of EDM tent.
Yeah, that was probably
So, but no, not for where you. I know you guys like got in late and probably like just
Yeah.
swept in. But if you get on site a little earlier next week, you should go and check it out because it's like, yeah, and they're playing like all like 70s disco
Oh, okay.
funk, and
Oh,
it's
wow.
like every you hear the buzz on the bass frets, and it's
cool.
really really something. But do you guys? I mean, you guys do a lot of. I mean, I know you do a lot of techno festivals and like electronic festivals, but do you get to do like kind of these more multi-genre?
Okay.
Sometimes in the summer.
Occasionally, yeah. There's always a few in the summers, depending on. A few.
Yeah. Do you go out at all? I mean, do you like walk around and see?
Sometimes, not very often to be honest, because summers are usually in out, and then you
Yeah.
have a flight next morning, and you just don't have the time or energy to. But I have done sometimes, and you play Exit in Serbia. I remember
Yeah, I was
seeing
actually thinking also of
Prodigy
Exit as well.
last summer or the summer before, things like that. Sometimes I make an effort to see if there's a band I want to see or something.
So,
I would have loved to see Sia actually. Yesterday.
Yeah.
She played the same time.
I heard
think.
she was great. Yeah,
and
she's.
she's
I
one of
but-
the girls that I really, really love. Like, if I've started following her way before she was becoming so popular, and when she started to do electronic music, I mean, she was doing all these like indie.
Yeah, I caught the very tail right after I left you guys. As I was crossing the field, she was finishing up, and so
Yeah.
like from the back of the main stage, I was able to see.
Yeah, she seems like a really creative, cool person. Must have been nice.
Voice of an angel.
Yeah, sure.
So what's the rest of the summer? Because this is kind of the.
Oof, yeah, it's just about to start. It's just crazy as usual, The Ibiza thing is always big. But
Where's your
that's
main
Cocoon?
cocoon? Okay.
Yeah, Mondays. I think I do 6 this year.
So,
Then
are
a
you doing
couple-
Height as well?
No,
Or that
no.
was just you did Height in Barcelona, but
Yeah,
in Ibiza
no,
last
'cause
summer, but
they
or
do
2 summers
Wednesdays
ago.
in the same club, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
kind of either or. You can't really do both. But I do 2 for Carl as well at Space. We do
Paradise?
Paradise for Jamie at DC10. We do, I think, 1 night for Maceo Plex at Pasha this year.
He started something at Pasha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a bit of freelancing as usual, and then it's the whole festival circuit, and
You doing your own festival?
I'm doing my own festival in London in June as well. It's called Junction 2. It's together with London Warehouse events that I'm usually working with in London. It's
So
really
the
good.
Warehouse Project, those guys, or
London
oh, no, that's
Warehouse
Manchester. I'm
events.
sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we're doing that as well. Park Life, me and Ida together in June also. That's in Manchester. But yeah, this is called Junction 2, and it's under a bridge in London. Really cool location. First year. Cool lineup. We got Carl Craig live, Dixon, Nina, I think, yeah, Alan, me, a lot of people. Like really, really cool lineup.
Is this under the Drum Code banner, or this?
No, it's called Junction 2.
Okay.
But yeah, it's Drum Code branded down together with a few other brands. I'm involved, like pushing it, and I've been doing, we do Drum Code Halloween with them, which has gotten really big over the last 5 years or so. And that's the people I work with in London. So that's going to be great. Apart from, it's just loads of things as usual. We do EDC Vegas as well, also in June. Ultra Croatia we do together.
So you two are performing at EDC Vegas, or are you?
No, that's me alone.
Oh, that's you alone.
I was gonna play, but no,
I don't know if they released.
I couldn't do all those shows. I just realized it was like in the end it was every weekend, and I can't do every weekend since we have the kids, so I had to.
Yeah, Vegas is far.
Yeah, Vegas is far, and
that's going to be a tough month.
You have to be gone for a lot of days. So we had to pick.
I don't know if that lineup is released yet. Maybe I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Oh no.
I'll check. Yeah, I don't think it is, but
because we're actually doing our own drum code stage
at
EDC Vegas. That's the first year for the drum code stage instead of call. So
yeah. Oh, okay.
We're actually doing that.
Wow. That's huge.
I get Richie doing it, which is also like.
Right,
because years ago, I would never imagine him playing for my brand. It wasn't possible, it would never happen.
Yeah.
Now,
so he did enter at, I think he's done at EDC, but he's done enter stage at their other Halloween event or something here in LA a few times.
Yeah, so it's just.
We'll check that when we can announce that. And I'm not sure when. I told you I'm recording a few this week, and so I'll try to time this, or we'll just beep it. Just,
take the really long loop.
Beep. Awesome.
Yeah. I could probably dig out more dates if you really want.
It's I don't think people are sitting there writing them down.
It's crazy.
There's this thing called the internet. Everything is.
Yeah.
And where's the best place? Where's the best place to find you guys? Like, as far as you're not an active tweeter or anything. I think I follow you, but you don't really.
A little bit, but not mostly retweets and.
Yeah.
Every now and then Instagram.
Yeah.
Facebook.
But you're not.
You're quite active Facebook poster.
I'll try to have a post today, like everyone.
Okay. So maybe kind of follow you now, not really.
Huh?
That's it. For the fans that are listening. Don't bother trying to find you.
No, you can find me. No, man, you can find. Best thing is to listen to my radio show, which is weekly.
There we go. Okay.
It's broadcasting in 60 countries on FM, and then we put it up online every Thursday. So it's called Drum Code Radio. 60
countries
worldwide
on FM.
On FM.
What 60 countries?
Yeah,
if you said 16, I would.
No. It's like 60 or
So if I name any country, there's only 230 countries in the world.
It's pretty much every Western country you can think of, and some like Pakistan and whatever. It's like it's crazy. Yeah. It's the same people who's doing Carl's show, Global. They do transitions for John Digweed. They call them radio department. So they, they distribute it. We do a weekly show. I use an hour from a recent gig every week.
I saw you were recording last night.
Yeah.
I assume it'll.
But we're not allowed to use Coachella recordings.
Right.
They told me today. Which is good because you got distorted anyway because of the new mixer. So
was it because of the new mixer? Wasn't it because of it wasn't like?
No, it was because of new mixer because the feed from that went in too high. We have it set for the Allen Heat, and I think it looked good when it tried, but then we probably pushed the gains a bit more when we actually played, so the feed was too loud in, so it's distorting.
You didn't adjust it on the recorder.
No, because that's my TM's job, and it looked fine when he was looking, but then certain tracks are distorting, so whatever. We're not gonna use it, but
can't use it anyways.
Can't use it anyway. But I have other backups, and we have one guest a month, and then I do 3 on my own. So yeah, Drum Code Radio is a good place to find me, and otherwise, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, like everyone else.
Ida, are you?
I'm just hiding in the forest now. I don't know. I'm every now and then I'm here. Mostly
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Rave Curious podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more conversations with key players in the electronic music community. If you like what you heard on this podcast, let us know. You can give us a shout on Twitter at Rave Curious. You can also like us on Facebook, Rave Curious Podcast. And of course, subscribe on iTunes to make sure you never miss an episode. That's it. Thanks for listening.